And it is Vapor then, the man who must outscore Jensen if he is to maintain his championship hopes. He's the man who will be on pole for this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. He betters his teammate. It's a Ferrari 1-2. And amid all of that, after all the topsy-turvy thrust of laps, we are left with a grid which promises so very much. Vapor from Jensen, from Lazar, Levi King, Stiggy, Black Ninja, Mbappe Fan, Feeder Scun, Bloodaxe Edgars, and J-Boss. So then, the drivers turn their attention to the lights, and here at Sao Paulo, we go from the lights to the action. Vapor gets away from pole position. Jensen isn't quite close enough to challenge him. It's for the Ferrari 1 and 2 going into the first corner with Lazar right in behind. Can the Haas driver challenge the championship leader? Not quite. The two Ferraris have got away scot-free. Further down the pack, I think they've got through the first couple of corners rather cleanly, but Levi King either ghosting there or something, because he's now under pressure from Stiggy as they head towards the Sino de Largo. The RB driver on the soft compound tyres, he's now under pressure from Scun. As they zip into the second sector, it's Vapor in the lead still, but he's being closely pursued by his championship rival. Scun, though, making up 3 places, the same amount as Edgars and J-Boss. Looking further down the pack, Black Ninja, though, he's lost 4 places. He started on the medium compound tyres, so may have not had the grip compared to the soft compound runners around him. But on lap 1 of 36, it's a Ferrari 1-2. But look how Jensen closes in, firsting for the race lead and the race advantage. Is he close enough to make a move into the first corner? Not quite. Looking further down the pack, we have Scun ahead of Mbappe Fan, but the McLaren driver thinking about a move back down the inside. The Williams ran out wide, and the two are throat to throat, making contact with one another. Now Edgars right behind them, wants to make a move on the pair of them, and there's still contact between the McLaren and the Williams. Can Edgars make it 2 places in a breath? Indeed he can! That is quite something there from Edgars as he looks to solidify the place, and then he collides with Mbappe Fan, the pair of them having to scatter across the grass. And all of that hard work coming undone. And Edgars slipping down to 10th place. It's a hectic start further down the pack. Meanwhile, further out in front, we have Vapor still leading Jensen, but the latter does have Lazar for close company. Then he oversteers through the exit of Jinsao, and he lets the pair of prancing horses run away from him. Levi King looking to pounce, but to the battle for the race lead. Jensen thirsting for championship glory on this tarmac. He zips around the outside of his teammates into turn 1. There was contact, but consequence. Jensen to the race lead, but for how long can he keep it? He goes defensive off of the exit of the Cenareses, but Vapor finds a way to the inside. Ferrari upon Ferrari, throat to throat on lap 3 of 36, and Jensen resumes his race lead advantage. They're still going wheel to wheel. Vapor to the inside, Jensen keeps him at bay. Oh wow. He wants it all. He wants it all, does Jensen. Yet it all could have faded away in just a brief moment. Vapor, though, wants the place back and will hound him through each and every corner. It's intense. It's intense already on lap 3. It got close. It got chaotic. But it's not over yet. Vapor will have DRS. Down the start-finish straight, yellow flags out in Sector 2. Edgars is the first retirement from this race. Jensen, is he going to go defensive into turn 1? Not quite. Vapor now slips down the inside and resumes his advantage once again. For Jensen, it's imperative he doesn't lose a place to Lazar behind. Is he going to look to pounce and make a move on Vapor ahead? No, not quite. So it's Vapor ahead of Jensen, as it was at the end of the first lap. Then we have Lazar, then Stiggy and Levi King. And further down the pack, we have Mbappe Fan, J-Boss, Black Ninja Scun, Feeder, who's going wheel to wheel with Scan, and he clips the wall. The tension is almost at boiling point already. That's another moment of contact between two drivers, and this is just not relenting. Edgar's definitely taking issue with the driver there in the Discord server, not that we can see the contact though. They've battled, and battled hard already. The two prancing horses, throat to throat for the race lead. Jensen, though, slipping down the inside of turn 1. Can't quite make a move, but he needs to maximise the exit off of turns 2 and 3. He's going to get into his teammate Slipstream with a race lead to pursue. He has Lazar right behind him. Jensen, can he make his mark? Not quite. Vapor had just enough top-end speed to fend off the threats from his teammates, who had DRS and ERS in full deployment. Through the technical middle sector now, he's looking for a way through to the inside of one corner and then giving his teammate a tap, looking for any perceptible advantage. It is getting ferocious out there on the track. 25 points coming into this race. A victory for Jensen will seal the championship. It is that victory for which he so desperately thirsts for. And he can claim it down this long, long start-finish straight. With the aid of DRS, his teammates will show him the inside line, and Jensen will seize it once again. Through the centre S's now. The exit off of here is so imperative, because if you get the exit, which Vapor has, you can make your move, and Vapor is going to do that, but they came so close to contact. Jensen around the outside somehow maintains the place. It is so tight, and it's so tense. They are giving it absolutely everything. Jensen bashing away with his teammates still. It really is gloves off at this stage. I mean, I'm amazed they haven't turned one another around. I think Jensen is riding by the limits and perhaps exceeding it on a few occasions. Lazar behind, well, he actually has more battery in reserve compared to the two Ferraris ahead, so he could place himself in a promising position if he does want to mount an attack. But for the moment, Jensen is going to do so to Vapor. There is the inside line once again. He grabs a break to the inside. Vapor forced to the very outside, and he has to relinquish the place. With sheer forcefulness, Jensen headed to the front once again, but for how long? Vapor with supreme top-end speed claims it back in an instant. Towards Ticino de Largo now. Jensen searching for that outside line. He looks to dance. He looks to dazzle. But not around the outside there. And again he has Lazar right on his tail. He hasn't really made an inroad just yet, but a half spin through turn 9 is not, it's certainly not, going to help. Further down the pack, Black Ninja ahead of Scan. The Williams on the soft compound tyre, Black Ninja on the mediums. And just actually for a brief moment, J-Boss is the lead driver of those who have pitted. Feeder is also another driver who has pitted, but there's Jensen getting past Vapor. It looked a lot less intense this time around. And way before thinking about turning into the first apex, Jensen headed to the head of the field. And as it stands, it is Jensen's championship. But this is lap 8 of 36 of an epic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Scun battled away with Black Ninja and then went off the road through the exit of turn 2 and onto turn 3, but he keeps the place and maintains it all the way down this straight. Right, back out in front. I tell you what, Laz is in massive danger of dropping out of Vapor's DRS. And should that happen, he may be caught in no man's land. The detection points, I don't think it's going to be kind to him. I don't think he's going to have the use of that rear wing opening down the start-finish straight, and indeed he doesn't. So Vapor's left on his own to challenge for the race lead, and with authority on the brakes, he looked to the inside, and he just about avoided a collision. The nerves in that Ferrari camp. Oh, it must be just so immense. Further down the pack, I do wonder if Stiggy's had a problem somewhere. There were yellow flags deployed. I don't know if they've been maintained. Although they definitely have not been maintained. So then, onto the start-finish straight once again. Vapor will have DRS, and again, Lazar cannot do anything about getting in his way into turn 1 as the track starts to descend. Jensen still with the race lead. What does the exit look like? It looks promising, actually, for Vapor, because he's able to stick close enough to his teammates, and now the advantage of DRS. He looks this way, he looks that way, and he surges to the front once again. He marvels in the moment, does the defending champion, and affirms his dream, his hope, with a sheer gem of a move. Still, the two battle, even through the middle sector. They're actually costing themselves time the longer they battle away, because if Jensen even taps his teammate, that puts him offline, that kills both of their momentum, and Lazar's back in the fight again. He's within DRS, he's within that 1 second. And he has a permanent place, you would think, for the race lead. Jensen, though, so close to his teammates as they open DRS, and he will whistle by, or will he, going into the first corner? He searches for that outside line. It was not without contact, but now it's Vapor's turn to back off and let Jensen take the reins. But Vapor will in fact have DRS, which he will utilise to take the race lead once again. Jensen, well, he's thinking about it going into turn 6 and 7, but he's not quite close enough. On board with Lazar. And again, the longer these two spend fighting, this two-way fight becomes a three-way fight. Whether that is part of their thinking, I don't know. But lap 11 of 36, this has been a spectre of the race for which we have enjoyed thoroughly so far. J-Boss has earned himself a time penalty for excessive track limits violations. J-Boss currently down in P10, having made his first pit stop right then. Jensen again, down the start-finish straight, looks to make a move on his teammate, on board with Lazar, who has the best seat in the house. He can see Vapor backing off, but he's actually going to take a wider line than Vapor in the turn into turn 2. That may give him a better exit of the DRSs, but Vapor does have that DRS on his teammates and will utilise it to plot a path to the inside again. Millimetres between the pair. They are giving it their absolute all. Vapor edges up in front, but Jensen will fight back with authority, with sheer presence on the brakes. And on lap 12 of 36, he sees nothing in front of him and everything behind. Let's look further down the pack just momentarily. Feeder closing in on J-Boss. The Sauber with the RS, how powerful it's been down this part of the track. He thought about going around the outside, but he was never going to get around there as Mbappe fan moves past Bloodaxe. Vapor thought about a move to the inside, but locked both the fronts and the rears. That may thwart him off of the exit of the center S's. The Haas is in a mood. He looks to get past as Jensen there ahead, hitting the grass as he tries to break the toe, but for the first time in what seems like an eternity, no changes for the race lead at all at the start of a lap, and it's only taken over a dozen. Meanwhile, Stiggy gets past Scun and now stares down Black Ninja. Right, J-Boss defending from Feeder, who does look a lot closer this time around, going down the start-finish straights. The Sauber, without any troubles whatsoever, will grab the place and the final points-paying position going into the first corner, but the pair of them will exceed track limits. J-Boss, though, will get the better exits and does look to fight back, spending every last percentage of his ERS battery. He'll utilise it to move down the inside of his rival. There's turn 4, and there is the position. Back out in front, Jensen still ahead of Vapor, but the latter does have more ERS battery to spend. Laz has had a horrible lap. He's now 1.5 seconds behind the second place man. And again, it goes back to the points. If these two work well together, it will permanently become a two-way fight. But for the moment, the Haas still lurks in their mirrors. Lee Viking, I mean, he plays a really interesting part in this race, doesn't he? On the medium compound tyre, so he should be slower at this stage. And we do have a retirement from this Grand Prix. It is Black Ninja, who is the second driver to head out of the race. So we're left with 10. So as long as they all finish, they will all score points. But just very quickly, Lee Viking in 4th, within 5 seconds of the race lead. And, well, I was going to say he could trigger something. He does have a penalty, though, but Vapor decides to trigger the undercut on his teammate on this lap 15 now of 36. It's Lee Viking. I was just talking about him there, but he's gone for a spin into turn 1. That's going to cost him a heap of time. But Vapor triggering the undercut on his teammate Jensen onto the hard compound tyres, which should, most definitely should, see him get to the end of this race. So he drops down to 4th position. So the last thing he would need right now is a safety car. But what is the undercut? Well, it's when you pit before the driver you are battling with and utilise and exercise the initial peak grip from that tyre to lap quicker than those you are battling against, to make sure once they've made their pit stop, you come out ahead of them. The Alpine of J-Boss earning himself another penalty. But yeah, for Vapor, this is entirely plausible if he wants to take the race lead, and Jensen is not, critically, is not going to react, but Lazar will. And so too will Lee Viking. So Jensen, either he's looking for that tyre offset, knowing that he is likely to have been undercut anyway by his teammates, or he's maybe thinking about going to the soft compound tyres to the very end of this race. We will have to see, but you would think right now Jensen would be set to be undercut by his teammate. Let's just have a look going through the first sector actually. How much quicker was Vapor than Jensen? Quite a bit, actually, by quite a few tenths of a second. Your race leader is closing in on Bloodaxe, so is going to come across some traffic very soon. As Bloodaxe then earns himself a time penalty, which of course will do his race no good whatsoever. But Jensen closes in on him, going down the start-finish straight. but will not make an impression through the first couple of corners. So the gap between Jensen and Vapor is just shy of 18 seconds as they start lap 17 of 36. Approaching half distance in this one. For Jensen, this is an opportunity for him just to get some good running on the medium compound tyre in clear air. Vapor lapping very promisingly once again, very similar to his last lap, first sector on his last lap. But he is eating into his teammates' advantage, little by little. I mean, if Jensen was to pit now, I don't know if that would make a lot of sense. Surely now he's going to pursue that tyre offset. Having said that, he is going to get DRS down the start-finish straight, which is going to help his top-end speed and thus give him a bit of an advantage. But now look at the gap getting beneath 17 seconds. It was 16.6 as Vapor applied the power onto this straight. And actually through this phase of the track, it's pretty much with Jensen having DRS, it's leveled itself out because the Ferrari in Vapor's hands had superior traction to that of Jensen. But he wasn't able to have that straight line speed that Jensen had down the start-finish straight. But it's through the corners where Vapor is really making his advantage count. And this savvy yet cutthroat tactic from the second place man and defending champion could prove to be inspiring. Jensen has got to be very careful now, though, that Lazar doesn't undercut him, because it's one thing to be undercut by one driver, the driver you are principally defending against, but to then be caught in somebody else's race, that could be race defining. But Jensen will continue on for another lap and reach half distance on the medium compound tyres, and I'm getting to that point, I feel, where he is actually going to go to the soft compound tyres to end this race. And that would make for quite the thrilling finale, I am sure of that. But the gap now now closing in on 15 seconds. Vapor is really making his presence heard now. Let's ride on board then with your second place man, former pole sitter for this race, and most probably, unless a safety car is deployed, net race leader. Let's just have a look at how he tackles this middle sector. It's just so smooth and responsive, isn't it? And that is what has made Vapor such a threat on race day. He perhaps has been a better racer than he has qualifier in the past few seasons of ETSR. He managed to overcome Jensen's qualifying advantage last season to win the Season 5 championship. A couple of absent races, though, for the defending champion has seen him fall into this deficit, but in what has proven to be such a stern challenge for him. It looks like he may have outwitted his rival. Lazar now earns himself a time penalty for track limits violations, which pulls him further adrift of the two Ferraris, battling it out for race victory. Into the middle sector on board the Hash driver. And J-Boss earns himself yet another time penalty. Track limits violations is, well, such a feature around this track. And indeed, Jensen makes his stop. So then, a switch to the softs. What a battle. What a battle this will be in the final 16 laps of this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Oh, Vapor, almost with a massive tank slapper coming through the center S's, but Jensen will come out behind the Haas. So instantly, when he wants to be getting those tyres under the right temperature and not be eating into them and not opening them up too much, he has to battle away with someone who may not be battling for the race lead. Feeder has left the session. He currently runs in 8th. Jensen chasing the Haas, going into the middle sector, but grabs the front brake as he looks almost certain of hitting the Haas. Thought about braking late, did Jensen once again, but he's clearly losing time through the corners. Vapor is able to open up that gap, but Jensen, with the aid of DRS, at least he should get DRS. He is going to have such a launch. So he closes in on his rival, who has a lot less ERS to spend anyway, and Jensen makes his way to the inside. The place is his. And so then, a gap of 6.2 seconds is a chase that commences. What will these final chapters to this epic Sao Paulo Grand Prix look like? Jensen flicking that Ferrari into turn 4. He is going to be coming alive on those soft compound tyres, and already the gap is approaching 5.5 seconds. Again, though, he doesn't want to be eaten into them too much and not open them up too early on in the stint. He wants to save them for having the adequate grip to battle away with his teammate Vapor and then to pull away from him. But going long on those medium compound tyres may have aided his charge relative to his teammates. Just so, very much the quickest middle sector of anybody so far, by far. And down the start-finish straight to complete another tour of this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And if we just have a very quick look, fastest lap of the race by 0.8 of a second. That is the pace for which Jensen is setting. He's already 2.5 seconds clear of Lazar, who in turn has Lee biking right on his tail. So we have a battle for the lead and a battle for P3. Meanwhile, we have Stiggy ahead of Mbappe Fan, the McLaren driver, after tangling with Edgar's earlier on, coming back to fight for 6th place. Meanwhile, J-Boss will pit. He's now slipped down to 8th place. It may shortly be 9th. Indeed it will. I mean, he's going to resume the track quite close to Vapor, and this could be significant because that's more traffic for the race leader to clear. He's just passed one Sauber of Blood Axe. He doesn't want any more drivers standing in his way. Jensen charging into turn 4. The gap at less than 4.5 seconds, though it has stabilised a little more in the last lap or so. Blood Axe ghosting ahead. Jensen will pass him with relative ease. And in fact will not get the benefit of DRS. He's not within a second of a car ahead, but Vapor, it looks like he will. Indeed he will. And these are precious extra few tenths for the race leader to hold on to. And it's not just going to be down this straight, it's going to be down the Destino de Largo and into turn 4. J-Boss with another time penalty for track limits violations. But yeah, Vapor now opening up that gap slightly. And it could just be so pivotal at this stage in the race. Yeah, he is having a troublesome time trying to get past the Alpine is Vapor. As Levi King actually makes his move on ladder, going into turn 4, the Haas finds the runoff. The Mercedes into third. Well, it has been an area of this Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache circuit where drivers have made inroads and have made places as Stiggy makes a move on Mbappe fan. Now, as it looks like we had yellow flags just for a few moments, that may have been for an errant Sauber. Now, Vapor, no, he doesn't have DRS this time around, but Lazar, he wants back that final rostrum place. Look how much he closes in with that top-end speed down the start-finish straight, but opts against the move going into the first corner. What about down Decino de Largo, the run towards turn 4, where the Silver Arrow made his mark on the last tour. The Haas looking to respond, feinting a move to the inside. He then roars around the outside. The Mercedes was there, though, to fend off the challenge. And at least in that moment, Levi King still with third place. Meanwhile, Mbappe fan getting past the RB of Stiggy, who is pitched into a spin and loses grip over P5. Not too sure what went on there, but Stiggy, it's just gutting for him, isn't it? He's been locked in such a super tight battle all race, but now has to regroup with just over 10 laps left. So the gap now down to 3.5 seconds between the two Ferraris. Board with Jensen, it doesn't have that peak grip which he had a few laps ago, but the gap, it's just not coming down for him enough. Vapor utilising that DRS advantage through various corners to pull away in relation to his rival. So Levi King still hasn't romped away from Lazar, so the battle for the final podium place goes on. Vapor down the start-finish straight. He still has the Alpine behind. So the gap down to 3.4 seconds. Lazar doesn't spend so much ERS battery down the start-finish straight and will tuck in behind the Mercedes through the first couple of corners, downhill initially, and now through the Senna S is riding the curb. I think Levi King has a harder time of it. The Haas, the long way around the outside, and third place is his once again. Profiting from a mistake from the Silver Arrow. And yeah, that is a place on the podium once again for Lazar. Both of those drivers have 6 seconds penalties incoming. But still the battle for the race lead, it just doesn't look so kind, does it, to Jensen at this stage? Okay, it's coming down still, but is it coming down enough? It felt incredibly aggressive for him to go onto those soft compound tyres, at least as early as he did. And has he spent the tyre life a little too soon? The rear end doesn't look as responsive, that is for certain. Particularly through the traction zones when you're so reliant on it. Also worth mentioning that Vapor does have more ERS battery to spend. Actually, no, he doesn't, that's a lie. It was initially more, I think. But as he's encountering traffic, those who are ghosting, He's not getting the DRS, but nor is Jensen. Locking a brake. Going into turn 10. The gap. Is it coming underneath 3 seconds? It is at last for Jensen. In fact, Vapors had a problem somewhere through the exits of the final corner. The gap is now down to just 2 seconds now. And Jensen all of a sudden can see his teammates emerge larger and larger ahead of him. As Scun through the first corner. He's been involved in an incident with J-Boss. Again, not too sure what's gone on there. It looks very peculiar where the two were stranded right on the racing line. Anyway, Levi King hustling Lazar. He does have more ERS battery to spend in comparison to his rival on lap 30 of 36. And he's sticking to him like glue through this part of the track. Whether he can stick with him close enough to make an impression down the start-finish straights, we will have to see. So here he goes then. Ascending uphill. And onto the start-finish straight with DRS wide open with the Williams weaving ahead. Can the Mercedes make a move into turn 1? Not quite, but he was late on the brakes as Scun goes for a spin. His second in as many laps, I believe, and that just sees him lose further touch with J-Boss ahead, and he does actually have a damaged front end plate as Levi King had a look to take back P3 but couldn't quite find a way through. So the gap still at around 2 and a bit seconds. Coming close to 5 laps left of this one. Does Jensen have enough in his tyres? A chance perhaps to win the Drivers' Championship. He will do everything, practically everything he can to win this championship. His teammate lay there ahead of him. The gap 2.3 seconds with 5 laps to go. Further behind, there's Levi King looking to pounce upon the Haas. Down the start-finish straight, Levi King will look for that inside line into the first corner. He muscles through and solidifies the place on the brakes. But can the Haas respond? Oh, we've got a safety car. We have got a safety car then. Scun in the Williams is out. Can't tell where he's crashed. Looks like on the entry to the pit lane, actually. But that has brought out the first safety car of this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And we are in for an incredible finale. So then, Vapor will come into the pit lane. So too will Jensen. Yes, he will. So Ferrari are going to double stack. Now, this will mean a slower pit stop for Jensen, but there shouldn't really be an effect on his stop time, at least massively. It won't see him lose a place to any other driver, but on go another set of soft compound tyres, and on lap 33 of 36 he will have a Haas in his way though. Actually, that could be problematic for him. Will race control allow the Haas of J-Boss to get past? So we now have Levi King ahead of Lazar. We have Mbappe Fan in 5th, Stiggy 6th, J-Boss 7th, and yeah, he is in between the two Ferraris. How problematic could that prove to be for him? As the drivers now all warm up their tyres. It's going to be quite a dash, quite the dash to the end of this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. No more than 3 laps to decide the winner and possibly the champion in ETSR in Season 6. As J-Boss looks to hurry Vapor. To be fair, there's not a lot you can really do under the safety car if you're not allowed to pass. But also in terms of generating temperature, Formula 1 cars, to generate the temperature, want to be going as quick as possible when you're going at a slower speed, and it looks sluggish through the exit of the final corner. You're not generating that tyre temperature that you want, hence you're putting more load into them by weaving this way and that way. It is worth mentioning that Levi King, Lazar, Mbappe fan, Stiggy, J-Boss, Feeder and Bloodaxe all have time penalties to be served. So again, Jensen doesn't want to be caught in that battle because ideally for him, that is not the battle he wants to be having towards the end of the race. Lap 34 of 36, so a maximum of 2 racing laps to the checkered flag. We will have at least a racing lap, but how many? We'll have to see. So then, is the safety car heading back to the pit lane on this lap? I think it might, and indeed it will. 2 laps to the end of this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Vapor has the prerogative. Jensen has the endeavour. A race to decide the Sao Paulo Grand Prix victor. Perhaps a finish to decide this year's champion. The tension is palpable. The consequence is enormous. But Vapor will romp away. Jensen collides with the Alpine. On a day where coronation was an expectation. It's heartbreak and hell. The Ferrari trying to get past the Alpine to launch an assault, an attack for race victory. A dream crumbles. A heaven fractures. It leaves his teammates on his own, in comfort. Oh my, that is seismic. That is seismic. And it means we may just be heading to a season finale in Abu Dhabi to decide the champion. It is just the most bemusing way, isn't it? For that all to be decided. But on we continue then, on to the final lap. Levi King with 2nd place ahead of Lazar the Haas. Looks for the outside, no DRS involved, remember, but it's pure slipstream and top-end speed, and the Haas utilises that to edge ahead of the Silver Arrow going into turn 1. The Haas forced to the outside, but will make his move. Up into 2nd place goes the Haas. Can Levi King respond? Now we have DRS in store. He does look to the outside, but he can't make his move. That may be that until the start-finish line. Jensen now crawling around this track to get all of those 8 points to at least still have the championship lead going into the season finale at Abu Dhabi. Levi King looking to get past the Haas, but having to back off. Now going into the final braking zone. He can't quite make his move, but ahead. Vapor stared down hope. He will seize it and force us to a title decider in Abu Dhabi. Vapor wins the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Levi King gets past Lazar right at the line. The pair of them will be eclipsed by Mbappe fan, who in the end finishes in second place. Stiggy 5th. Jensen will come across the line in 6th. And that was an ending. A race to remember. Wow, wow, wow. Vapor then. Eight points. Is it 8 points? No, it's 7. It is 7 points going into the title decider then. And I think it may be an opportunity to speak to our race winner.